Tonight, Council has made a compromise with an RCMP request for extra officers, opting to hire 4 new officers in the summer as opposed to now for budgetary reasons. Plus, as energy demands province-wide increase, there are concerns that BC's energy security could be at risk. And one of the tiny homes recently built in the homeless encampment at Moccasin Flats has burned down despite warnings from the city. Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband and welcome to CKPG News. We begin tonight with the source of a lengthy discussion during council budget talks. The RCMP budget is the costliest line item for the city at $35 million, and pressures to beef up the detachment keep coming. The RCMP had requested an expansion of its force with 4 new officers, and as a compromise, the city agreed to hire the new officers in the summer as opposed to now for budgetary reasons. Cheryl Jan explains.
The base budget for the local RCMP was passed with little fanfare, but a request for 4 additional officers did garner a lot of attention. The budget for those additional officers was $883,000 and change. Ultimately, what council opted to do was hire 4 officers, but not until midway through the year, thus saving some of the budgeted amount. Not a problem, says the city's top cop.
The fact that it's only funded for half a year this year isn't problematic at all, so we're already moving into February. The process by the time we send authorization to the provincial government and then through the federal government to increase those numbers, by the time we get through the administration of creating those positions, it's into early summer anyways.
The recommendation is consistent with the findings of a review of the local detachment, which determined it is woefully understaffed.
We knew this was coming, did we not?
Yes, we did the police services review. Last budget cycle, we approved 4 RCMP, and we know for the next 5 years we have to approve 4 officers in order to really increase our member count. We have been funding a lot of the police work through overtime for the last decade.
Also, the superintendent noted the encampments. Moccasin Flats in particular has increased the number of calls the local detachment has to respond to.
That encampment's really become more entrenched over the last couple of years. The behaviors there have shifted in a disturbing manner. We're getting a lot of calls of violence, 2 shootings in approximately the last 2 weeks there. It's just a bad environment, and honestly, I think it needs to be remedied as soon as it can.
One of the arguments in favor of the 4 additional officers was the sheer volume of cases per officer, and Superintendent Wright says that may be due to A, the rough and tumble nature of the community, but also location.
We're the only centre in the north, so all of the outlying communities for essentially 2/3 or so of the province, all of their issues end up here, be they health, mental health, crime. We are the only remand centre in the north, so anyone who's remanded in custody for serious crimes comes here. A lot of them don't leave.
However, he believes the caseloads handled locally are not a detraction to recruitment levels. In fact, quite the opposite. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
A Northwest BC MP is disappointed with the federal government's decision to not extend the CEBA forgiveness for loans for small businesses. Here's what Taylor Backrack, MP of Skeena-Bulkley Valley, had to say.
January 18th, just a few days ago, was the final deadline, and the government didn't budge, which is extremely disappointing. And so thousands of businesses across the country are faced with incredibly difficult decisions. Some of them are going to have to close their doors. Others are going to have to refinance and take on more debt in order to pay off those loans. And many are going to have to forego that loan forgiveness. That was an important part of the original offer. I think that the message being sent both by the federal government and by the Conservatives who were silent on this issue is that small businesses don't matter, that they don't have the backs of these small businesses and entrepreneurs in our community that are so important to the fabric of our towns and communities.
The BC government says it's set to release this new strategy that will ensure private training institutes that cater to international students will provide quality education. Advanced Education Minister Selena Robinson says the province will announce a suite of actions that she claims will significantly increase quality standards in international education. Robinson says she has heard stories from international students who found themselves in disappointing situations. One example being that students don't have in-class instruction, even though they were told by the school that there would be in-person classes before coming to Canada. This move came after the federal government's announcement on a 2-year cap on international student admissions. Energy demands across the province have increased, as evident with the most recent cold weather snap, and there are concerns that not enough is being done to protect BC's energy security. Anna Burles has the story.
Energy security is defined as the uninterrupted availability of energy sources at an affordable price. But is BC's energy security at risk? BC has imported power when our grid has not been able to keep up, and the leader of the opposition says that BC needs to be self-sufficient.
When we've got a fast-growing population, when we have energy demands not just in British Columbia, but right across North America, where different jurisdictions are going to increasingly be looking to where they're going to get their energy. And we want to make sure that BC is self-sufficient.
Barry Penner, the chair of the Energy Futures Initiative and former Environment Minister, says that a recent decision by the BC Utilities Commission to reject a natural gas pipeline upgrade to the Okanagan is sending the wrong message, and that there are concerns about energy supply.
I'm quite concerned about the recent decision of the Utilities Commission to reject a $327 million pipeline upgrade that Fortis had proposed in the Okanagan to maintain natural gas reliability for that growing part of the province. The Utilities Commission agreed that there is an imminent concern about maintaining supply, and yet they rejected the project.
Kevin Falcon says that natural gas needs to be a part of the conversation when it comes to increasing our energy security.
We need to have natural gas as part of that solution, because all of it has to work together to make sure that we have the energy security that we need in this province.
Penner also noted that projects are taking longer to get approved and then built, further complicating matters.
It's just taking longer than ever to get projects approved, permitted, and built. And that might not be good enough if we're going to stay secure in the future.
According to the Energy Futures Initiative, BC is importing far more power than we should be.
They imported 20% of our energy or electricity last year from outside the province. We are no longer self-sufficient on an energy basis for electricity. At least we weren't in 2023, with 1/5 of our total electricity needs coming from outside of British Columbia.
Adam Burles, CKPG News.
One of the tiny homes in Moccasin Flats burned down early this morning. The homes were built despite a stop work notice from the city, as well as warnings that this exact thing could happen. Tommy Osborne was at the scene to speak with those impacted and the people leading the tiny homes project.
It's really devastating because it basically took everything I had and owned, and it's really devastating.
Cora, a longtime resident of Moccasin Flats, woke up at around 5 a.m. this morning to find a small fire started in the corner of her tiny home.
It just went so quickly, you know. It just started to go all over the place, and it went so quickly. It just when I had to get out and the fire was just spreading and spreading, it's quite devastating.
The volunteers behind the tiny home project are of course heartbroken that this happened, but also knew it was always a possibility. They say this situation points to the larger issue that there isn't anywhere else for these people to go, and until a better solution comes by, they say the tiny homes remain a necessity to protect against the cold.
We can't guarantee that this won't happen again, and I think that's something that we need to change in legislation, is we need to have adequate housing for people before they're pushed into encampments. There needs to be either utilities put in place down here so people can use safe sources of heat, or we need to find adequate housing for these people.
Despite knowing it could be unsafe, Fredrickson and the volunteers say the tiny home project will continue. Why? Fredrickson says the need to house people from the cold still exists, and he plans on continuing to provide a temporary solution until a permanent one is in place. He added all of the shelters are flammable in Moccasin Flats and made of more dangerous material like cardboard, nylon, and plastic.
The damage that happens from those when they burn and melt and fall on somebody are awful. That causes a lot of damage, and we've seen that with some of the residents here over the last couple of years that have been in fires in tents and have burned 80% of their body because of it.
In the early stages of the project, the City of Prince George issued a stop work notice due to safety concerns, and Mayor Simon Yu provided a statement saying safety is always his top priority. On the topic of permanent solutions, Yu said the city will take a look at the situation and hopefully speed up its transitional home program to get people in better, safe housing that's built to national code and is fireproof. We will have more on that project and the city's reaction tomorrow. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
2023 was a good year for the Prince George Airport in terms of not only flight numbers, but capital. The airport is home to some pretty high-tech equipment for plowing and sweeping the runway, as well as a new state-of-the-art airport rescue fire truck. The two pieces of equipment cost $2.3 million, and that was made possible through the federal and provincial government and Northern Development Initiatives Trust. But last year was also great for passenger numbers.
We're really pleased with the numbers for 2023. We're not quite sure how it was going to fold out, and it came in better than what we predicted. And I think that's a reflection of confidence from the traveling public that the industry is back. Certainly 2022, we had some big hiccups on sort of that aggressive restart. However, we're seeing a lot more operational integrity in 2023. Certainly the response we've had to the direct flight to Puerto Vallarta has been really helpful in leveraging that, because we're really pleased with the response that local travelers and when we look at our whole catchment area, people will drive here for that direct flight. And so that allows us to take that information and go look at other destinations. Las Vegas is one we hear a lot about, and certainly that's something that we're going to be looking at.
As of this morning, the lowest gas price in Prince George was sitting at $1.42.9 per liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province as of this morning was in Williams Lake at $1.38.9 per liter. Manitoba has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.21 per liter, while BC has an average price of $1.59.6 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Dominos. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
These snowmaking machines at the Yway Nordic Ski Club have been busy since the cooler weather arrived, gearing up for a couple of major events that are coming in a few months. The snowmaking equipment at Yway were a legacy of the World Para-Nordic Championships in 2019. At that time, 2 snowmaking guns were introduced, and since then that number has increased significantly. And they'll be producing a great base for the upcoming Para-Nordic Finals and Para-Biathlon Championships.
In 2019, we had the snowmaking system cover the stadium and the adjacent trails, but it was built for expansion, and that was key. So that when we got further funding, we could expand, and that's what we did. So from that 2019 legacy, which was probably, I think it was about $475,000 for the initial snowmaking foundation, I'd call it. We then used the legacy funding from from the 2019 event, which is $150,000. And then my philosophy is always turning the dimes into dollars. So how do we leverage that? So between NDIT and the BC provincial government, the gaming grant, and a large donation from the Rick Bell family and more NDIT funding, we were able to turn that $150,000 into $1.25 million.
The TSX is up 76 points to close at 21,102. The Dow Jones is up 243 points to close at 38,049. And Canfor went up 28 cents to close at $166.67.
Good evening again. We're looking at some showers or even wet flurries out there tonight, and then a break. So this is it here on the satellite. You can see we've got clouds and sort of instability over us for the moment, but this is the break in behind before this next big system here. So this one is going to hit the coast with lots of heavy rain showers, and as it moves towards the inland areas of the province, it will likely change to snow here and there. For us, periods of snow. So this is our Friday, breaks through the morning hours, cloudy in the afternoon, and then there you go. You just saw Friday night as we welcomed that big system. So again, periods of snow expected through our Friday night. After that, we're in for very, very mild temperatures. You can see it doesn't last very long. Our Saturday looks nice and clear. We actually have some sunny spots in our forecast for Saturday, and then back to some instability come Sunday. And some areas of the region could see a little bit more precipitation even on Saturday, a slight chance at least, but for the most part, we should be dry, and I'll show you more on the extended forecast in a moment. But very wet up and down the coastal sections, very mild though. 10 degrees is what we're looking at South Coast, and almost at that up towards Prince Rupert and much of the North Coast as well. 4 in Kamloops, 3 for us in Prince George. So again, we're above average in many areas across the province and only going to get milder as the days go on, but lots of instability for our Friday. So that's kind of the next big wave of moisture before we get to another break. 4 in Quesnel, we've got showers there. 2 in Vanderhoof, it'll be snow for Burns Lake at 3 degrees, -1, a little bit cooler in Fort St. James. A very wet one along the west coast, as mentioned, with that next system really packing a punch. So some heavy rainfall in many areas. 3 degrees in Edmonton, that's actually quite mild. A sun cloud mix for the most part, the same for Regina, although a little cooler, and then unsettled further east as well. And looking at 0 for Montreal, over in Halifax 0, and very cold with some snow in the forecast. So a mixed bag of weather. Saturday, as mentioned, will likely be okay for us here in Prince George, but into Sunday we could have a few more showers coming. It is very mild though, that jet stream pushing further north, allowing that warmer air to come up from the south. -7 for Burns Lake tonight. You're looking at low-lying clouds and quite an unsettled forecast all the way until you reach Monday. That's kind of the break. You have to wait until Monday, but 3 to 6 centimeters for sure tomorrow, and then changing over to showers as we see the freezing levels rise. 5 to 10 centimeters of wet snow is possible through Mackenzie tonight, so still very wintry tonight, and then it really warms up as the days go on. Saturday, rain and drizzle, 5 degrees, 6 on Sunday, a passing shower, but likely some breaks in the day as well with some dry spots. -5 with clouds tonight in McBride, 2 tomorrow, and 4 on Saturday, so warming up quite significantly. We might see a little bit of the snow that falls Friday night linger into Saturday morning, but should be dry after that. For Quesnel, -3 tonight, and then really warm. Look at this, 8 degrees by the end of the weekend. You start off the week next week and 9 degrees and a mix of sun and clouds. So we're not showing a lot of sunshine here, but I'm pretty confident we should have a few breaks in the clouds, even tomorrow morning and into parts of Saturday. But again, 8 degrees by Sunday. We are expecting it to be a bit windier on Sunday with some showers in the forecast, but certainly very mild on both Sunday and Monday. And yeah, most of the weekend looking pretty warm.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Dominos. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
Michael Henman is one of the most decorated student athletes in the history of UNBC sports, and Canada West for that matter. So why not add another potential award to his list? The UNBC men's soccer star was announced as a finalist for the Sport BC's Post-Secondary Athlete of the Year award. This award recognizes the province's best in amateur sport, including athletes, coaches, teams, and officials for outstanding performances in the 2023 season. In Henman's 2022-23 season, the striker notched 19 goals to tie the all-time Canada West single-season record. Additionally, he had 5 game-winning goals and 4 hat-tricks. This was followed up by another good season this past year, where he scored 5 more goals and 2 assists. Henman says he's very proud to be nominated and says this is a very special nomination because there was a time where sport was not possible for him because of his struggle with mental health. We've got a mix of sports moments for you tonight in the CKP3, from tributes to new coaches. Let's have a look.
CKP3 is starting off with last night's tribute to Warriors' late assistant coach, Dejan Milojevic.
Warriors family, the tragic loss of our beloved Dejan Milojevic has devastated all of us.
I'd like for all of us to give Decky an ovation that he can hear up in heaven. Thank you.
Instead of having a moment of silence, head coach Steve Kerr got everybody on their feet cheering for Milojevic. The Warriors went on to beat the Hawks 134-112. Sticking in basketball for this next one, Luka Doncic's stretcher is on the way.
Always got to rain on the parade. Look at JB. He dropped Doncic. Highlight reel stuff from Jaylen Brown. Getting the oohs and ahs from the... I'll give you that.
Jaylen Brown sends Doncic flying, then gets the basket right after, making for a filthy play and a bit of a humbling moment for the Maverick man. Finally, what every Chargers fan wants to see, a little mic'd up throwback action of Jim Harbaugh's QB career with the Chargers.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I see you, baby. Come on. Yeah. Side. Navy Rambo. Navy.
That's a nice little full circle moment for the new LA coach. This takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
Hello from the CKPG Today side. Got a great one coming up over here, including a little feature from our friends, the firefighters and the PG RCMP. Of course, I'm talking about the second annual Sirens Cup here in Prince George, coming up on Friday at Copar Memorial Arena. Going to be a great time. I'm not sure who I'm putting my money on yet, but we're going to get the matchup today, and we'll help you decide that as well. Throw it over to you on the other side. Who are you putting your money on, the firefighters or the RCMP?
Tough choice, but you know, the fact that the firefighters won last year, I'm going to go with a little bit of a revenge game. I'm going with the RCMP. Lock it down. All right, folks, that's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Your last look is the snow melting on Cummings Road. Have yourselves a great night. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you tomorrow.